great answers, the challenges of remote working.
Mental well-being. So Andy, today I want to talk about resilience, not about resilience from loss or coping with grief. For that area, I'd recommend performing a search on option B or reaching out to a doctor. Today we're discussing a framework to reduce anxiety from disruption to our lifestyles and our working environment. It's true, many of us at times feel like victims, and now understandably more than ever. The issue is, we cannot always choose what happens to us, but by using our REACT framework, we can choose how we respond by regulating our emotions to counter emotional hijacking. That is, when we lose our emotional balance and objectivity.
So, this fits really well with something that I use. And I often have been heard to say, you can't always choose what happens to you, but you can choose how to react to it. The problem is that when something significant in terms of mental or emotional disturbance hits us, it's way more easily said than done. So having a framework that works is really helpful. If we're resilient, we're more easily able to adapt and solve problems. Like all skills, though, it's something we need to develop and practice. It enables us to cope with fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which are big inhibitors to performance. So Daryl, can you talk us through the model?
Sure. The REACT framework follows 5 simple steps. Recognize the situation. Separate fact from fiction. The situation could be much worse. And perhaps other people are also going through this at the same time. The second step is emotional awareness. Step outside of yourself and label how you're thinking. Are you scared, confused, angry, disappointed? Accept that these feelings are natural, but they're not helpful in order to move on. Then, assess the situation. How did it arise? Why did it happen? Use transposition to understand why people acted that way. Then, most importantly, focus on what you can control and disregard what you cannot. Then, focus on a change plan. What can you do immediately to rectify the situation? And what can you do in the next few days? What can you do in the next week and the next month? Focus on some quick wins and what you can do to stop it happening again. Then, take action. Be committed to making the changes. Don't find any excuses. And reward yourself as you get some things done. Finally, take some time for self-reflection. Try and look at it through a positive lens. What was successful? What steps weren't required? What took longer or shorter than expected? And what can you do in the future if this situation occurs again?
So when we're faced with unexpected setbacks or extremely challenging situations, we can so often respond irrationally. It disrupts our ability to make effective decisions. So whether we see the situation as a challenge or threat determines the way our brain reacts. If we see the situation as a threat, the resulting physiological reaction is likely to constrain the way we think and react. Or when we see the situation as a challenge, it's more likely to energize us. Of course, there are other dimensions to help us recognize what's going on as well. One of the things is when we engage in negative self-talk, often around the things that we have little or no control over. And that would be a sign that we're moving in the wrong direction, of course. One of the things we talk about is controlling the controllables, or in other words, separating productive worry, worrying about those things we can influence or control, from unproductive worry about the things that we can't control.
Yeah. So once we learn to detect, these early signs of these emotional hijacks, then actually it's really useful because you actually can spot it very easily in other people as well, and then support them. One really good tip is to have a balanced perspective on everything. It's too easy to go to the extremes where you take an internal perspective where you blame yourself for everything, or an external perspective where you place the blame on everyone else, when really you want it to be a happy medium to get a clear view of what's going on.
Yeah, I think one of the things you talked about when you were going through the model was self-reflection. And self-reflection's, I think, really useful in it. That helps us to learn to stay present or in the moment. And that's significant when we're talking about managing our anxiety, because anxiety is not about the things that are in the present. It's usually about things that have happened and we're worried about, or things that we're expecting or worried might happen. And therefore, staying present is really helpful to us. One of the other things alongside that is when we're in the present, we can then learn to assess the situation non-judgmentally, seeing things as they really are. And it's really helpful in making effective decisions, and it helps us retain emotional balance. And it's, as you pointed out earlier, a key feature of resilience. It's one of the things that also distinguishes many high performers, and importantly for us, contributes to a greater sense of well-being. And there are countless studies that have found that being present and actually also being grateful develop more positive emotion and lead us to improved performance and much higher levels of motivation. They also lead us to better physical health as well. And when that's the case, well-being can be contagious, and it spreads through groups, it enhances moods, improves effectiveness, and the work climate improves in general. So we hope that's been helpful to you. And if you want to talk to us, come and do so. We're here to help.